All right. So first, just tell me just about yourself. How long you've lived in Clay and why there and that sort of thing.
Okay. Was born and raised in Sylacauga. In middle school, we moved to Prattville because my dad got a job at the paper mill. And as I moved out of high school, I came up here to go to school in Birmingham. It was then Southern Institute. I have an associate's degree in interior design. Met my husband and stayed in Birmingham. In 2005, my mother-in-law asked if we could accommodate her in our home. And so my husband, who was the UPS man out here, found a house for sale, this house that we're in, that was big enough to accommodate a family of six. And so we moved out to Clay.
Okay. What were your
20 years.
initial impressions of Clay?
Um, well, we're a home educating family. And so there was a little bit of concern about getting involved in the community. Um, and there was a little, at the time it was called Clay Ridge Baptist Church, and they had a little umbrella school that was, well, an umbrella. That was legally required at the time in the state of Alabama. You had to be under a homeschool umbrella. And so they were the closest one. And we got involved there, and they had a couple of little co-op classes. And one of the people there invited us to community Bible study, which meets at the Trustful First Baptist Church now, and we got involved there. And so we got involved with the community pretty within a year or two. We were kind of feeling like we were at home.
Yeah. What was early on? What was your favorite thing about Clay?
Well, I loved that I could pop over the hill um, to the Walmart or to Trustful, but I wasn't experiencing any of the traffic, that the Hoover, we lived in Crestwood.
Okay.
But a lot of the activities we attended at that time, went to church in Vestavia, dance class was in Homewood, um, library in Mountain Brook. So there was a lot of that over the mountain kind of traffic, and we don't have that in Clay. So
Yeah,
that's very nice.
that is. What all sort of things like since you've lived there, like what have been the things you've gotten involved in the city? I know I've read some library involvement, maybe some other things. Where did you get plugged in Clay?
Probably first, like I said, community Bible study. Then we moved, probably the library after that, because I've always been a big library goer. At the time, we met at the little Jaffe Ware building
Hmm.
over there by the football field, and got involved with some of the programming there. They had the librarian at the time wanted to establish a little children's garden. One of my little passion projects, if you will, is gardening. And so I helped her establish the little gardens, and then uh, maintained those throughout the years, and moved from there. I went to city council at one point, probably at least 7 years ago, and asked for permission to do the same thing with at Cosby Lake, to install some flower beds and do some beautification of the Cosby Lake area. Created a little group called Caretakers of Cosby Lake,
Okay.
and then was on the library board uh, the first time, and then they dissolved it. And then was asked to, when they reestablished the library board, was asked to go and came on as chair then.
Okay. The flower bed thing would have helped me out. When did y'all start that? Let me ask that first. About when did y'all start doing the beautification at Cosby Lake?
I want to say about 7 years ago.
Okay, 7 years ago. Okay. I needed it in 2012. That's where I proposed to my wife.
Uh-huh. Right.
We just did it on the back trail. I tried to get away from all the people, but that
Right.
was that was the place that I chose to do that. So stuck the knee down in the gravel, hurt a little bit, but we
Yes,
got
it
it
did.
done.
Good for you.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad.
how did you parlay these kind of service experiences in the city to running for mayor? Like what was that decision process like for you?
Well, the catalyst of that was the dissolution of the library board. Um, and then almost immediately following that, that was in July, almost immediately following that, we, a group of individuals, and I decided to start a prayer group to pray for the city of Clay. And so once a month, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock for the past year, we have been in prayer for the city of Clay, that God would raise up leadership, because of some of the ways that things have been handled. Um, it's just not the way that it's supposed to be handled in America. It's self-governance. And so we prayed for leaders. We prayed for people to rise up and run for office. We knew there was an election coming up, and as late as May, no one had stepped up to run for mayor. And so I felt like as the deadline approached that the Lord said, well, you've laid this on, this has been on your heart. So you're the one. I'm calling you. And so when he calls, in obedience you go. And then the prayer changed to, okay, Lord, if that's what you want to happen, then you'll make it happen. And we'll be diligent to do the work of running, hopefully, a clean campaign. And you'll grant us favor with the people. And that much, I mean, it was a very, very close margin. So
Yeah. 28 votes.
Something like that. Well, and if you count the provisional ballots as well, it's even less than that.
Is it? Wow.
Yes.
Low turnout.
Well, people keep saying that, but our last election, we had 917 people turn out. And this time we had over 1,000. So
Okay.
we actually came up a few percentage points. I agree, low turnout. I think it's a shame in America when I always vote in every election. And that's because my grandmother received the right to vote when she was in college in the 20s. Yeah. And so I just feel like it's a privilege that every American should take advantage of, because if you don't take advantage of your opportunities, you might lose them.
Yeah.
And when I think of, just how many people suffered, women specifically, or people of color for sure, who suffered for the right for us to have a right to vote, and then we can't even show up to go do it. That just makes me shake my head.
Yeah, it bums me out. Like we were almost celebrating over here in Trussville that it seemed like we hit the 30% voter turnout, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's high, and it's
That
like,
is.
and it is, but it's like 30%. Like, imagine celebrating making a 30 on a test or something.
I
You know what
know.
I mean? Like, it's
Exactly.
like, ugh, there's something just ugh about that.
Right.
But anyway, you got the votes you needed, so you're
did.
in. You're in.
Yes.
So was it you said July when the library board, was that July of 24?
Yes.
What, take me through that. I haven't done a lot of reading on that. I'm just curious, what happened?
Well, it started with a specific library book.
Okay.
Some people had asked about a book, and we were told that we shouldn't order the book. The book was about missionary stories. That was the small catalyst that started it. And then we had a few discussions about that, what what it boiled down to. You'll hear about the APLS, Alabama Public Library Service.
Yeah.
They, if you're taking money from the Alabama Public Library Service, $10,000 a year is what they give to those who are associated with them. They have laws in the state of Alabama called bylaws of how your library board is supposed to run. Your library board is supposed to be the entity that answers the questions for the library concerning who and how people are hired, what policies and procedures are involved. They work with the library director. They would have the right to hire or fire a library director, all of those things. And our library board, as we got to looking at the bylaws versus how the city said we should be running our library, totally two different things. And so our question to the city leadership was, if you're taking the money from the APLS, why are we not running the library according to the law? And they said, well, I mean, they never really gave an answer except, you're asking too many questions. We'll just dissolve the library board, which takes leadership and governance of the library completely out of our hands. And we didn't even really have any governance of the library because the city considered us an advisory board. And so for years we would say, hi, can we do this thing? Can we have volunteers at the library? No, you can't. Can we have this kind of program at the library? No, you can't. Well, when we got to talking to all the other library directors and all in the JCLC, they were all stunned because they get to do all of those things. They're even announced in the local paper, hey, here's the homeschool meetup class. Here's the anime class. Here's the, you want to volunteer for the library? Here's how you do it.
Yeah.
We had none of those things going on in our library.
Yeah.
And don't
What is that
currently.
What has that meant since that happened then about just over a year ago then? What has it been like at the library since then? Like, how does it, what's a day at the Clay Library look like over the last year?
I don't know that it's the people who are involved in going to the library. One of our largest groups of people who go to the library are preschoolers for preschooler programming.
Sure.
And of course, summer reading programming. And a lot of those are attended by young families.
Yeah.
One of the things we were told is that we should have an emphasis on the feeder pattern of our local schools. We should be doing most of our programming to reach school-age children in our community. And I certainly agree with that. However, statistically, they're not the people who are coming to the library. The people who are coming to the library are kind of retired. A lot of them are retired people. We have a lot of retired people in Clay.
Sure.
Oh, sorry about that. And so they frequent the library because a lot of them do like the books. They don't necessarily have a computer at home. They don't necessarily have a printer at home. So they utilize a lot of those features. But I would say probably our largest group of people who come are preschoolers and their parents.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I spend, I know we're just meeting for the first time, but I spend a ton of time in Trustful's library because I write a lot of history over here in Trustful. And
Right.
so they know me as like the one guy who spends time in the archives room. Like the
Right.
library people, the library workers call it my home away from home. I mean, it is
Sure.
what it is. And a lot of times out of that jail cell of a room, I lock myself in. I look out the window and that's what I see. I see young children, very young children with parents, and I see some of the same old men every time who grab a book and they sit down and essentially read that whole book while they're there. And come back tomorrow and do it again, you know?
Hmm.
So, and then I'm sure there are hours where, you know, kids from Hewitt Trustful or something come and work on a research project or something like that. But by and large, I see a lot of young people and I see a lot of old people.
Right. Well, anybody between about what, 12 and 65 probably has a smartphone by now,
Yeah.
generally.
Generally, yeah.
So, you know, the Google, you can you can ask the Google and get whatever you need. Um, I, um, my daughter, because she grew up in the library, I have three children. They're all grown between 25 and 30 years old. And my 30-year-old is a huge frequenter of the library in Hoover. And
Okay.
of course, Hoover is a humongous library,
Yes, it is.
tons of activities and
Yeah.
things that just all kinds of things always going on. They have meeting rooms. You can get on the calendar for the free meeting room. And she does that. She's organized a group that does like Jane Austen old timey dancing, if you know what
Okay.
that is.
Yeah.
And so she has a group that meets at the Hoover Library. We were told by our administration that if you wanted a group to meet at our library, they would be charged. And we have one meeting room, and Hoover has lots of meeting rooms, and they don't charge any of their citizens.
Yeah, when I've gone, we've gone to a couple events at that Hoover Library, and like when I tell you the first time I walked in there and I saw how the halls kind of weave and stuff like I thought I was in a Barnes and Noble. Like I thought I was in
Yes,
like a
departments, whole departments.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's huge. Pretty sure I caught COVID there one time because there was just so many people, but
But exactly, but so many people,
so
and
many
so
people.
just and all ages, all races. I mean, there's just it's just a hopping little place.
Yeah.
And we do not have, I mean, other than Cosby Lake and the library, we do not have public meeting spaces that are open frequently. One of the things that I want to see change is I want different hours at the library. We currently, they mostly close at 6. And we are a bedroom community.
Yeah.
And people get off work at 5 from downtown, and they have to come home and feed their kids and get the things and do all the things. And they don't have an opportunity to go to the library when it's available, when they're available.
Right.
And so activities, and even geared towards family. I know when my kids were younger, one of our favorite things to do at Emmett O'Neill Library in Mountain Brook, about once a month, they would have a show, you know, a puppet show, a magic show, a science show. I don't know, whatever. But they would have it at like 6 o'clock, and they would feed you dinner.
Yeah.
You know, hot dog, chips, what juice bottle. You
Yeah.
know, and so you could bring your family and hang out and get to see the show for free. Little free dinner there. You know, those are the kind of things that kind of establish for kids that frequency of the library. I think we get a lot more public school participation with that because the parents are available to take their kids. If you're a working parent, you your kid gets on the bus or goes to some kind of after school care, you don't have the opportunity to have a school or an after school function that's going to be well attended because the parents are working.
Yeah. So once y'all swear in November 3rd?
Yes.
So what's I know library board, I don't know if there are others, but what are once you're in, what are some of the plans for a board like that that's been uh what was the word?
This dissolved.
Dissolved. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word.
Um,
Uh,
well, I would like to see some community participation. Some people who would say, "Hey, I'm interested in uh, Cosby Lake and what's going on there." So I would like to be a part of that board so that we can organize some cleanup days. We can organize some getting rid of some invasive species that are taking over, that are because all of that's labor, I mean, and the public works people they're already stretched thin
Oh yeah.
on the things that they need to do. And again, an opportunity for community, an opportunity for some of these local high schoolers to get involved. When I was, what are some of them? Key Club, Junior Achievement. I don't know if they still
Yeah.
exist because
All
I've
those
been in
kind
the
of things.
school for a long time. A long time. But they used to need community service hours to be a part of some of the clubs and things, and to get those who are interested in the environmental
Yeah.
aspects of things. I can hook you up with the Freshwater Land Trust and the Jefferson. What is it? Jeffco Greenways.
Yeah.
Um,
I
which
saw I saw today I saw today that the Cahaba River Society and the Cahaba River Keeper are merging into the Cahaba River Coalition. That was
nice,
announced today.
right? And see,
So stuff
that's
like that.
definitely something that Clay should be involved in because we're the headwaters of the
Headwaters.
Cahaba.
That's right.
So, I mean, and I've always, again, loved being outside, gardener by nature. Definitely the environmental stuff. So that would be a board that I would want enacted pretty quickly.
Okay. Like an environmental committee or something like that.
Well, specifically for Cosby Lake at
Okay.
this point,
Sure.
because I mean that's the main thing at this point. And then of course there's the whole Department of Youth Services property that we've acquired, and the plans going forward for that.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I know there's a town hall coming up in like October or something, but
Yeah,
I've been out there. I went out there in June, which was just absolutely middle of the day in June was just aces to go out there. So I'm still scratching mosquito bites from that day, but that was my first time out there. Got to kind of go around and see what it was. I've learned some of the history of it, certainly not all of it, but got to kind of see just the space and
who took you out there?
Ronnie Dixon.
Okay.
So I got a little tour, and it's part of kind of what I told you. Maybe an aspect of the book that I'm working on, which is very much focused on Clay Chalkville's football, but it's kind of looking at the community as a whole. It's just the center of that lens is the football season, but the periphery of it is certainly all things community. It's this election. It's the future of that DYS property. It's honestly, in a way, and I'll parlay this into a question I had for you. It's very much Clay to me, just to me. I'm an outsider now. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
the city next door, but to me, in a big way, Clay has always seemed like a very unchanged kind of place for a long time. And right now, it seems like Clay is very much on the verge of lots of changes. Your election being one of those changes,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, because Charles
Right.
has been in there for a long, long time. The DYS property stuff is finally starting. There's going to be a new Clay Chalkville High School. There's going to be a new football stadium. So it's kind of also looking at these new things that are
Mm-hmm.
starting to happen in Clay and why that is and what does that mean and culture in the city and all that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is my wheelhouse. I love that kind of stuff, which
Okay.
leads me to the question of your campaign slogan, a new
Right.
season in Clay, that very much from a surface level, very much in line with kind of what I'm looking at writing this book, mostly about football, sure, but all the other things as a part of it and what it means to community and that kind of thing. So I guess the question out of all of that is how'd you come up with it? Why'd you come up with it?
Um, that was my bestie, Christy Howell. She has been praying for a new season in Clay for 7 years since she got employed as the children's director at the library. And so that has been one of the things that we have prayed for is it's time for it's time for Clay to grow up and take advantage of the opportunities that we've been given. We're hedged in all around, geographically. So there's only so much growth that we can have as far as, I mean, and that affects everything. You know, there's as far as there's just not expansion for our borders. And based on the property that we have and the geographic area that we're in, there's a lot of things that we're not going to do. For instance, what was it, a year or two ago? Someone wanted to build to take down one of our big mountains and make it, you know, the gravel pit where they were just going to start raking the gravel and chipping it up and all of that. And we will never be a major industrial, you know, so accept what you can't change, and work within those perimeters. So I think I think there's a lot of potential here. There's some potential for light industrial. There's certainly potential for new businesses, making some things easier, concerning, you know, getting businesses started. And there's a lot of, but I mean, we don't have a downtown. If you look at Trussville and their little main street and how they've done a great job, and we're so proud of them. And of course we spend our tax dollars there because that's where Ferris is, and the free concerts that appeal to so many in the demographic who live here in Clay. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel because we're different. We're going to be more low key than that. I'll just tell you now, I imagine.
I'm curious. I wasn't going to ask this, but you saying that made me think of it because it was such a big deal in the election over here in Trussville. The SSUT stuff, like are y'all okay with that? How it is in Clay, or is that something that y'all would want to look at as well from a state level?
I was so excited that I heard about that question from another forum before I got on this TV screen, because I was not even aware that was a thing.
And that's how I asked it in my forum with people, was like, it felt like it, you know, to me, we've known about Amazon and online shopping for quite a while. But it only seemed to me, just a citizen in the community, that it only became a big deal as almost like an election talking point. Why have we not been doing stuff sooner? So that was my thought on it.
So yeah, I was encouraged. I am learning so much. I didn't realize that Danny Garrett was the finance committee chair for the legislative party, because we don't get a lot of Montgomery news unless you're seeking it out, and we just don't. So I didn't know. So maybe the assistance of Clay finally being big enough to actually get its own zip code instead of being one of like 8 zip codes that are in this area. Maybe pressure in the Alabama legislature to make it a little more fair. You know, you can split up a penny,
right?
You know, because it's like 4-2-2, I think is how it goes now. But if you look at the gas station, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to be like 2.89 and 9/10. Yeah. They're splitting up a penny. Well, you know, maybe we need to split up a penny, or maybe the state can come off a percentage of a penny and the county could come off a percentage of the penny and give that to the city. I don't know. I think the zip code thing would be a benefit to Clay. But then you're talking about the federal government coming in and building a facility, because if you have your own zip code, I'm sure you have to have a bigger post office than the one we have, which is smaller than the room I'm currently sitting in.
The tiny little post office, yeah.
Yes. And so then you'd be dealing with the federal government, and you know, what, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a lot of unanswered
Yeah.
possibilities there, but I
Yeah. Well,
mean,
I mean,
day at a time.
well, and I'm sure you're learning it. You're going to have to be this sponge of all the things now. And I bet there's so much that you're intaking right now that it's almost impossible to keep up with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a few things that I guess you would say maybe you ran on, quote unquote, enhancing communication. That was one of them.
Yes.
How do you do it?
Well, one of the first things that I will do um, after November 3rd is I will have a complete audit of all of the communication that the city's responsible for. So the city website,
Mm.
the social media, and who's in charge of it, and how we can better communicate with our citizens through social media, because that is how a lot of people, most people, I would say under 60,
Yeah.
that's where they get their information,
Mhm.
is from social media.
Yeah.
I would also I might look into, since I do have an older population who are not on those kind of things, I might look into sending out a monthly little newsletter. Here's what's going on in your city. Um,
Like just through the post office, every mailbox in Clay.
Possibly, I would say something like that is a possibility. Or even a newsletter. You can sign up for it on an email.
Yeah, sure.
And if you choose not to get it on an email, then perhaps, or you could, click the box. Do you want it a paper one sent to your house, or would you prefer an email?
Yeah. Yeah,
Something
because I
like
know
that.
I know in at least in Trustful, I mean now Trustful obviously we know is a lot bigger. So sending something to every 35173, I've heard those prices for the mailers are like crazy.
Right.
But finding ways to enhance communication, like I've been on Trustful's case about that for years, and I think with this new administration, at least over here that got elected, I think there seems to be a big focus on that. I think
Mm-hmm.
they realize that for a long time, not just this last administration or anything, but long standing, that they've been a bit behind on that. So seeing these communities, kind of how you're talking about, finding ways to meet residents where they are is critical.
Right. Well, you want information when you want it.
Yeah.
When I'm looking up something, if I have a question, oh, is there an election in Clay this year? It wasn't on the city calendar on the city Facebook page ever. What?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous. So
Yeah.
there's that. Um, that would be the first thing, is we don't have a list of businesses. If I look um, at the Trustful's done a great job on their website. There's all kinds of information on there. I can find out about almost any business. I can do a video tour of the business in Trustful on the city's website. I don't even have a list of businesses on the Clay website.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. And so how do you shop local? If I'm looking for someone who maybe has a business out of their home, or rents one little office in one of the areas around here, I don't even know. How would I find that out?
Right.
Who those people are? So that kind of communication, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to shop local, because that's what's going to keep your tax dollars in your city, is shop local.
Yeah. And I would imagine that the enhancing communication would kind of lead to this other one that I think maybe I saw that you were running on as well, fostering community engagement. I mean, those seem to go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, we have a half a dozen maybe um, community activities every year. The 4th of July, the fall festival, the Christmas tree lighting, the Christmas parade. I mean, that's kind of it. At one time, there was a fishing rodeo.
Yeah.
Um, there just needs to be way more of those kind of things, just opportunities for people to gather for a purpose and part of the purpose just to be hangout, you know. And I think the DYS property opens up some of that, because currently there's not a public basketball court in this city.
I've wanted one of those back in Trussville for so long, an outdoor one,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't
Yeah,
have one.
exactly. I mean, I've got pickleball.
Lots of pickle. Hey,
Lots
pickleball's
of
the thing right
pickleball.
now. I still haven't played, but pickleball apparently is the thing.
Right. Right. So there's pickleball. But I mean, there's just so many other, I mean, for me, the basketball court would be a place. I mean, I don't have a lot of things. If you don't want to go on a hike in nature, if you're not a nature person, what outdoor activities do I have? I have pickleball. Well, that kind of, I mean, I know there are a lot of young people that play pickleball, but there's also a lot of kids who are not going to play pickleball because they view that as a grandpa sport. I'm just going to say it out loud.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. So finding ways to keep people at home, to keep them in your city as best you can. You know, like you said, you're trying to find ways to shop local, but you also want them to have whatever activities they want to partake in.
Right.
That there's
I want them to
eventually
recreate local. You know, I want them to recreate local. I want them to enjoy. If they want to kayak, I want them to go to Cosby Lake and kayak. Currently, and we're a city on a hill. Excuse me. We are a mountain. We're in a mountainous region, the highest elevations in Jefferson County. So there's no place for a kid to go learn to ride a bike, a flat place, you know. That DYS property, you said you'd been in there. That's kind of, there's some nice flat land right in there. So if you had some trails, you know, because bicycles are not allowed at Cosby.
Yeah. I lose track of the rules on that board when you pull in.
There's that too. Yes. So we don't have a dog park. A dog park would be nice. Little shady area fenced in for people to take their dogs and let their dogs run around and interact with other dogs without, you know, necessarily being on the Cosby Lake Trail. Now, of course, they'd still be welcome to go on the trail as long as they have a leash on. But, you know, if you've got a duck chaser, maybe you need to go somewhere else.
Is there room for that kind of stuff, like where the old library was, the one you said you got involved in, the old house next to the youth football field? What? I haven't been up there in a while.
Yes. There's what do they call that? The frisbee golf.
Yeah, part of it
set up on that side.
Okay.
There is room probably behind, and again, placement. If you look at the placement, when the library was there, it made sense to have a playground there.
Mm-hmm.
But the library is not there. That's currently an American Legion building. So the placement of that playground is not conducive to people using that playground. If I'm a mom with two toddlers or preschoolers, I'm not going out there because it's in the middle of nowhere. I'm not going out there by myself because we live in a dangerous place, not a dangerous place. A dangerous time where something could happen. And if you've ever been on a playground with two preschoolers, one of them is going to start doing a little dance and telling you they've got to go to the bathroom. And so you've got to drag two kids all the way around to the bathroom, which you hope is open. And I've been there when it's not. Or, you know, go over here behind the building, little Johnny. That's the best I can do right now.
Yeah.
So it's not a playground that's conducive. And the other playgrounds that we have, there's one by the library. and again, I'm just getting on my little soapbox here.
You're fine.
It's meant for elementary age students, but the majority of the kids who come to frequent our library are preschoolers. Preschoolers don't need big swings because they get hit in the head with the swing line.
Yeah, smack. Yeah.
You know, the slide's too big and it has open ends up the stairs. So my 2.5-year-old granddaughter is scared to go up the stairs because it's, an 8 or 10 foot slide. It's too big for a
Right.
preschool. And then there's 2 playgrounds that are inside of that, but they belong to the elementary school. And of course, you can't go on the property during school hours, which for the safety of all involved, we understand.
Absolutely.
So there needs to be a better place for playground. So that would there there needs to be a better place for the splash pad. Do you know where the splash pad in Clay is located?
Oh God, you're putting me on the spot. I'm gonna take it. Hang on. Splash pad. It's not a trick question, and there isn't one, right?
No, it's not a trick question.
Okay, I'm gonna take a guess. Is it up at youth baseball?
Yes.
Got it.
Very
That was a
good.
guess.
Right. But there's no signage on Old
Total
Spring
guess.
Boulevard that says here. There's a fee to go to the splash pad. So I mean, a lot of people don't.
Is it for Clay residents only, or is it anybody?
Supposedly, it's for Clay residents only.
Okay. I wondered because, like, the trustful one is trustful residents only, and I don't know, I don't partake in it, so I don't know what the fees are, but there are fees. And then, like, the one in Springville is like you can just come and you pay a couple bucks or whatever, and it doesn't matter where you came from. So I just wondered how that one worked because I've never been up there.
Right. And 2 of my favorites in Gardendale and Sickard Hollow, which is off of, what is that? Liberty Parkway. They are both free. Absolutely. All comers. And they are wonderful. There's a splash pad. There's there's picnic area. There's bathrooms. There's playground, all in one spot. I'm trying to remember on the Gardendale one. I don't remember if it's fenced in like, but you could sit in one spot under the shade tree and you can watch one kid at the splash pad and one kid at the playground at the same time, which as a parent or a person who has multiple children, that's the goal. I want to sit in the shade. I want them to go do what they want. Right?
Yes. That is absolutely the goal. Yes. Yes.
So, I know the Sickard Hollow one is absolutely wide open. Again, picnic area, bathrooms, looks out over a beautiful vista of nature, and has a humongous ropes course kind of playground area. And then also has, I know you've seen, well, you might not have seen, but over in Center Point, they have they have it at Trustful on the Riverwalk where they have the exercise stations for adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all at that station, all of those things. So you can sit under the fan in the shade at the picnic bench and look out and see a kid on a ropes course, a kid at a splash pad, the older kids doing the exercising.
Okay.
I think that kind of thing at that DYS property would get a lot of use.
Yeah. Those buildings are in rough shape. But the property itself, I mean, it's such a blank canvas.
Right.
There's a lot of possibilities there. I'd be curious what I can't. I'm doing a live show that night, so otherwise I would come to the town hall to hear the 438 ideas that there will be thrown out there, because everybody's, if y'all get good participation in that, there's going to be so many different, well, I would imagine a whole bunch of ideas, and then trying to cull those down into what you can do, I imagine will be quite the task, but I'm
Right.
certainly super curious about it.
Right. Well, and you always start with, what are my limitations?
Yep.
I don't know, because they haven't released, here's basically the contract with the state of Alabama. I mean, it's 75 years. Well, that's an end date. Now, granted, they might say, oh, you're welcome to this property, or, oh, here's the purchase price of this property. So to me, how are we limited by this contract of 75 years? Are there things we can do, things we can't do? Because it's a lease. So I don't own the property.
Yeah.
And so I have to kind of be mindful of that. And, it's all tax dollars, unless it's grant money. And then even if it's grant money, it's our tax dollars coming back to us. Because if it's federal money or state money, we're taxpayers. It's all our money.
It's all there. But at least y'all, hey, 75 years is a long time. Maybe what I don't know the details of the lease. Is it? I have no idea. So I don't.
Yes.
Nobody does.
That's one of the transparency issues that we
Yeah.
would be, and communication issues that we would be.
Yeah.
I'm willing to solve. I'm willing to say, okay, this is what my understanding of this contract. So these are the parameters. These are the things we can do. These are the
Yeah.
things that are totally off the table, because we don't own the property. We'll never be able to do those things. I can't put a restaurant here. I can't put houses here. I can't, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all need. I don't know. I don't know if that's in the plan, but like it would be nice if whoever from the state that would be a part of that could be at that town hall to answer some of those things. Like
Right.
and kind of give almost like an FAQ in a way, do's and don'ts, kind of like you
Mm-hmm.
just said. Like, hey, if you've got this idea for a housing project, can't happen because of this, or like
Right.
just kind
We're
of
not going to build a new school there. We're not going to, I mean,
city hall.
that would not be the first thing on my agenda.
Yeah.
Because my goal is, this affects how many people are affected by these decisions. Currently, there are 4 people who have offices at City Hall, and 2 of them are there frequently. That will change. I will have office hours,
Yeah.
where I will be in the office, so you can come see me or whatever. But I mean, if it affects 4 people versus the entire population of my city, that would be the way down on the list for me personally. Now,
Yeah.
the citizens might say differently, but I don't think they would.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I think more than anything, maybe it's just because it is such a, I forget how many acres, but it is such a big property and is much more central than
Correct.
where your current city hall is, like on the on a corner, like of the boundary, but
Right.
hey, it is what it is when you get into
Right.
building costs. If you've got a building, use the building.
Yes. Well,
So
and that building, the city hall building, and again, that's one of those things. I don't know. I've got to look into, uh, you know, what property does the city own? Do I own that property? Am I renting that property? Because that could make a big difference as well. I mean, if I was going to move City Hall, and I owned that building, I've got to have a buyer for that building
right.
before I, send us all 2 miles down the road and then am left with a big giant empty building.
Yes, exactly. The other one that I think I read was restore. I think I'm kind of paraphrasing, but restoring public power of decision making. Is that kind of what we've already talked about? Some of the like boards and governance, that kind of thing.
Yes. when they first started the city, if as I've gone back and looked through some of the minutes of the meetings, there were several different committees or boards, and I think there needs to be. The more input that you have, the more citizens that are involved. Now, yes, everyone has an opinion, and so sometimes they, the power, of any of those boards, other than the library board, if you're running it according to the state, the rest of those would generally be advisory boards. Yeah. So they would answer to whoever the city council person that they would kind of advise and answer to them. And then, because that's where the power within the city should reside, is with the city council and the mayor working together, making the decisions. And that's why I ran, because that 10 years of attending city council meetings, that was not what I was seeing in the city council meetings. I was not seeing the council and mayor making the decisions and doing the work.
Yeah. What is and I'm not asking you to say anything like this is not how I operate. I don't ask people for a gotcha moment. It's not what I'm going to do, but I'm genuinely curious, like cities and their sizes, the cities that have, I know we're alluding to a city manager. Mm-hmm. Does Clay at its size and needs and that kind of stuff, does it need one? Does it, like, should more cities do it? Should fewer cities do it? What do you kind of think? Because I don't know. I mean, I know Trustful doesn't have one, and I live there. Clay is next door and does have one, and I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to other cities elsewhere. So, like, I'm curious, right, like which one works better?
Well, I can only speak to my experience, and that's been the main issue for me, is that what I see factually, having dealt with the city on different things, what I see factually is that the city manager makes a lot of the decisions for our city, and he is and it's the position. It's not the person. Okay. I need people to understand that this is the position.
It's not a personal thing. Yeah.
It's not the person. We as Americans and at the local level are supposed to be self-governing. The city manager position has been given over to a lot of authority. He's been given a lot of authority. He's the head of all departments. He's the head of the hiring and firing of all city employees. So when someone went to the library and said, "Hey, can I be the teenager in charge of or not in charge, but the teenager who helps with the summer reading program," rather than the library director getting to interview that person and say, "Yes, let me hire you," that teenager had to go to the city manager and interview and ask to be hired. And that's a usurpation of power, because the library director should be in charge of the library, and she should answer to a board, and the board should answer to the council, who is also includes the mayor.
Right. So the library director in that example is, like, not even in the room for the interview?
I don't know if she was or not. I can't say yes or no to that.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you. Interesting.
So to me, what I saw, and again, through years of going to city council meetings, I saw the mayor abdicate his authority to the city manager, the unelected official. I saw members of the council abdicate their authority to the city manager, the unelected official. No, let's not do that. Let's be, if you're on the city council, you have authority, and you use that authority for what's in the best interest of your citizens.
Is there a
And that
balance? Like if not even just Clay, like any city that has a city manager, is there a balance where like a city manager is uh useful is not the right word, but is needed or can have
absolutely,
that can have that job, but the chain of command still works how you just described?
I would say certainly, surely,
Okay.
I would think so. But
Interesting.
when you have divided attention, which I understand, we're a city of a little over 10,000, so the supposedly the mayor job is not a full time job
Right.
here, um, and certainly the city council jobs are not full time jobs, and so there might be a time when you need someone who is directing the traffic of all the different departments.
Sure.
In a larger city. I don't think that's necessarily true of Clay with a population of 10,000. Now, that being said, there are lots of things that this current administration has done really well. Fiscally, they have been very responsible. We're sitting pretty as far as the bank account's concerned. They have done some. They've they did the pickleball courts. They did the splash pad. Uh, I mean, there's both sides. They have. I'm not saying that they've never done anything right.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not,
of course.
not what I'm
No.
saying at all. Um, but I think there are some things we can do better, and
Yeah.
we can do them in line with the way that they should be done concerning local government,
Yeah.
and
One
that
of the
involves a lot of people.
For sure. One of the last things I wanted to ask you about, like you said, a good bit earlier about homeschooling, home-based education. Like,
Mhm.
how involved have you been, like with the schools in town, and or how involved do you think you're going to have to be once November 3rd comes and you're sworn in?
Moving forward. Okay, so my general, when I had my children home educating, the only access that I had really to public school was through Discovery Club, which
Okay.
is a Bible based class that meets after school with parents' permission during the course of the school year at the elementary school. So I served, and my children served at Chalkville for a couple of years. Then I took a break because I was doing childcare for my next door neighbors as they had some young children. And as those boys, there's three of them, they are now 10, 11, and 12. As those boys were entering Clay Elementary, I started doing Discovery Club there with them. And we'll continue. That's my goal, is to continue that as well. So I'll be involved in Discovery Club at Clay Elementary. Um, two of them are in middle school now. So I'm hoping to have some more interaction with middle school. I've only ever been on the high school campus once that I can think of, other than things like a fall festival or something like that. So we'll see. Um, you know, what do they need me to do? What do they want me to do? I can almost positively guarantee you I will never run out on the football field with them.
You don't want to get run over?
Ah,
But Clay Chalkville is the one place I've been taken out on the sideline in all my years of
wow.
covering games.
Right. Yeah, I have not frequented football, high school football games since I marched in the band. So,
You need to come out there. They're on the
right.
road. They're on the road this week, but come out
Well,
there.
yeah, at some
It's
point
fun.
this season, but I'll probably wait until after November 3rd. Um,
Okay. They'll
right.
probably well, yeah, because November 7th will be the first round of the playoffs, and if we know anything about Clay Chalkville, it's that this team will always be in the playoffs
Right.
because they're very, very good. But
Right.
that would
Well,
that would be
and that's great. But then when I look at the statistically, the number of kids who are not attending school on a regular basis in high school, and I look at the test scores, I have to say, are we missing the mark? You know, is how is football being a success at your high school going to serve you throughout the rest of your life? You
Yeah.
need to get your education is important because it's
Yeah.
your education is what's setting you up for the rest of your life. And so I think we've gotten a little off balance concerning the football thing and the athletics, because Clay's big on athletics. I think it's 60-something% of our high schoolers who are at Clay Chalkbowl are involved in athletics.
Okay.
And that's great, but where are the grades for those kids? Are they going to succeed in the long run in life?
Yeah, and what I'm loving right now, I've covered high school football for a really long time. I think it's my 18th year or something like that. I've been doing it since I was like 19 or 20. And I wanted to do something different this year. Like usually every Friday I'm somewhere else. I'll be at Clay, then next week I'm at Vestavia, then I'm at Mountain Brook, then Hoover. I bounce around. And so this year more than any, I was like, I'm going to lock in with one program. And I had a couple that I was trying to figure out what worked best. I mean, it had to work best logistically, sure. But Clay was just the one that kind of worked perfectly for what I wanted to do and what I'm trying to do. And what I mean, we're only 3 games into the season, and it's like I've been going to things. They've got, there's optional Bible study in the morning with them. There's the coaches talking about grades. Like I've been so much more privy to kind of the behind the scenes in a way. It's not just like watching film and going to practice and stuff like
Right.
that. They read a book. The team read a book this spring called Legacy.
Okay.
It's about the All Blacks rugby team from New Zealand, I think it
Okay.
is. And they read it as a team, but they had like leadership groups, I guess you would say. So if you're a guy who earned a leadership role on the team, you are responsible for your group reading, doing the assignments, that
Nice.
kind of thing. And so I've got the book in here somewhere, but I read the book too. And every time I'm there, it is still like on the top of Coach Floyd's stack of plays and schedules and rosters and all that stuff on his desk. I've asked all the kids, not all the kids, I've asked probably a dozen guys on the team their favorite part of the book and why. I don't want you just to be like, I liked this. Like, tell me
Right.
why. Tell me how you're using that. And my question to them has been, tell me how you're using that off the field. Tell me sure about how it applies to, when you're going through a hard day of practice or you've got this opponent, whatever. But how are you using that at home? How are you taking that lesson and making it a life thing? So I think there's a lot of that going on, and that's so much of that culture stuff I was telling you about that I'm trying to get at with them. Like I said, if I
Okay.
told them, I was like, if this is a book that's like just a game story for every week and how the game went, that's not a book. That's
Right.
garbage. But if we can get at the identity and the culture and truly the life lessons that are happening through athletics, right? Like
Yes.
athletics being a vehicle for setting you up later in life. And yeah, I'm sure there are kids right now that those athletics, that's keeping them out of trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I've been encouraged watching that so far this year.
Okay.
I think you would enjoy some conversations over there for sure.
Okay. Well, and I would love to see, the next challenge for them would be, and how are you going to use that to affect your entire school or your
Yes.
entire class? You know,
Yes.
is this going outside of the gym? Are we transferring this over to chemistry class? Are we transferring
Yeah.
this leadership role over to whatever class, so that when somebody in your class is acting up, are you calling them on it? Hey, settle down. That we're not acting like that. We're not disrespecting our teacher. Those are
Absolutely. I
those are
think
the
that
kind of
is,
things.
yeah, I think those things rubbing off on each other and it making, kind of molding an entire individual, not just your in helmet persona, so to
Right.
speak. I,
Exactly.
I I think that's more than fair, and I hope that's happening. And because I'm not in the halls, but um, yeah, I think that is totally fair, and I would love to talk to some of those guys about that too.
Right. And I mean, yes, that would be wonderful to meet with some of the coaches, to meet with some of the leadership within at the high school. Like I said, I have not had any inroads, and I'll be honest with you. Right now, that feels a little bit like enemy territory
Hmm.
because
Well, Charles has been involved with the schools a lot. I'll just say it. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not sure, how warmly I'm going to be welcomed.
Well, I mean,
We'll
at
see.
the well, yeah, and I totally get that. And at the end of the day, it's like everybody involved, whether it be a coach, whether it be, Dr. Dallas, the principal at the high school,
Hmm.
everybody's adults, everybody's in a leadership role, and we kind of just talked about if we want kids to model certain behaviors for life, the adults got to show it too,
Right,
that
exactly.
even if there is, I'm just going to use your term, even if there is enemy territory or not sure how welcoming, like just, both sides make it work, show the
Right.
kids that even when there are differences, even when there's change, you got to roll with the punches and you work together and you don't be, you know, uh, adversarial or you don't shut down just because of this. All of y'all are working for something bigger than yourselves.
That's exactly right.
So I'm
It's the
looking
bigger picture.
the bigger picture. I'm looking forward to that. I'll try to keep you safe on the sideline if you come out there.
Okay. Okay. Well, I like I said, after November 3rd, I'll probably do some kind of come out and watch them play and do a little tailgate.
Yeah,
Hey, here's an opportunity to meet me, and
yeah.
hopefully some of our city council can be out there. We can kind of all be out there together.
That would be like I think something like that'd be fantastic because there's always people like I notoriously get to games not just this year at Clay because I'm working a little closer with it this year, but
Hmm.
I'm just notoriously early. I freak out if I'm going to be late.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, game's at 7, and then I'm like there by 5, and I'm like, what do I do for 2 hours?
Okay.
But at Clay, I mean, there's food trucks out there. There's always people, like coaches will come out there at times before the game out on the little kind of the grassy area between the back of the high school and where the field house is or whatever. And
Hmm.
there'll just be, families out there, little kids out there throwing the ball, parents, just kind of having their own little tailgate.
Okay.
So,
So is there still a stadium there?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's right behind the high school. Like if, like the high school's main parking lot is on the back of
But
the school.
but behind that is where they're doing the new stadium, right?
Yeah, so my understanding, I saw drawings a long time ago, but I don't have them, where they're doing all the excavating now, like
Hmm.
between the back of the current football field and the middle school, where they're starting to clear out is I think where the field is going to sit, kind of perpendicular to how the one right now is laid out.
Hmm.
Like the one right now is laid out like this, the other one's going to be laid out like that next to it.
Okay.
Um, and beyond that, I get a little fuzzy on what exactly the plans are. I think I heard. Well, it's been a while since I've looked at it, but my general understanding, and again, I'm not on the board of education. I don't work for Clay Chalkville, so I can just kind of say what I want. But I think I was told like once this season is over, like whenever the last home football game is,
Right.
pretty soon after that, they'll start taking it apart,
Right.
demolishing it. the other, they're clearing land every day out there right now. Every time I'm out there, I document a little bit more of it on video or pictures. Um, and that where that stadium sits and behind it, kind of into the pushing back into the woods a little bit,
Mhm.
where they've been clearing out, is kind of like where new high school will go. And when current high school is then torn down and cleared out and all of that, that'll be a lot of kind of your main parking and that sort of thing leading up to the school. That's my understanding anyway.
Right.
But I
Well,
haven't talked to anybody about it in months.
okay. Well, we'll see if we could get some plans and post them on some communicate to our citizens and citizenry and let them see the plans so everybody can get excited about the
Yeah.
uh, about a
There's
new school, a new high school.
there's a lot to get excited about. I mean that school's been there since what, I guess it opened in 96, so it looks
See,
like a
and
school it looks like a school out of Florida, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
right. I went to school in a school that looked like a prison, so I'm just like, bless it. But I don't think it was population wise. I don't think it. I think when they opened it, it was already too overcrowded.
Yeah.
So is what
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah. So it seems like there's, and that's again, for the book at least. Would I be doing this if I knew Clay Chalkville was going to be terrible? Probably not. But I think more interestingly is they're pretty much always good. They pretty much always are going to be a contender to potentially win a state championship.
Hmm.
But this year in particular, it's like Clay has been an incorporated city for 25 years. Like
Yes.
that's kind of a milestone. It's the
Right.
30th.
Wouldn't it have been great to celebrate that this year? Wouldn't
Correct.
wouldn't it have been wonderful to have some little banners? Hey, we're
Yeah.
25 years old. Here's the
Yeah.
City of Clay birthday party.
Yeah. Exactly. I organized a bunch of stuff for Trustful's 75th a couple
Mhm.
years ago. Because I think that kind of stuff's important. I love the community stuff, and
Right.
then, you know, but all those other things surrounding it, like kind of you're a new season in Clay type of mindset there. That it feels like Clay is kind of changing. You're about to get these new things. There's this potential with DYS and some other stuff. It feels like a place that has been unchanged for a long time and is, like you said, I think earlier, is starting to kind of potentially has the potential to kind of grow up. And so
Hmm.
I kind of want to examine, I guess you would say, through writing and talking to people, what does that growing up look like? What does that mean? What changes are happening, while also kind of looking at football as the absolute steady ship that it's been in the city, because it's been good for so long, and there's been a standard set there for a long time.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm after.
Okay. Well, great. I'm sure we'll talk again.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. It was good to get to know you a little bit and talk
Yes.
about the plans for the city.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited. I'm excited
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll end it right
for
there. I
people to get on
appreciate it.
board.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a
Have a good
great day,
day.
Mr. Lloyd.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.